attending Mass, my picture book. Again, we don't want to necessarily be recreating the wheel. The idea of back chaining or forward chaining was actually, it's an educational model. It's used in schools. This isn't something that we made up and Hulu had this brilliant light bulb idea. We pinched it, and it's working. It's working well, absolutely. So if you understand the term back chaining and forward chaining, could you raise your hand? Is that something that you're familiar with? So what this would mean is you would take a task and you would actually break it into segments, and you could measure moving at the beginning of the task to the end of the task, which would be forward chaining, or you could do it from the back of the task to the front of the task, which is back chaining. And an example could be liturgy. So if you wanted to begin with a family being able to have their child attend an entire liturgy, that might be a very large piece to take on at once. But if you take it step by step and say, okay, we're going to go for the introductory rites, and we're going to be at Mass for the introductory rites, and once the child has achieved that as a success, you go ahead and leave for the day. And you just celebrate that success. You've made it through the introductory rites. That's a wonderful thing. And as you come back, then you're going to take it through the next step. So you're going to stay for just a little bit longer for the next time. And at each success point, celebrate that success and make it a win for the child. The other, and so on throughout to the end of Mass until after some time, and what this might mean for some individuals is 6 months, a year. Be patient. There's no race here. Be patient. The same thing would apply to back chaining, where instead of coming into the introductory rites, what you would do is you would have the child come in at the dismissal rites, so that the child is experiencing just the dismissal rite. Everybody gets up to leave and is saying goodbye, and that child and the family is also getting up and saying goodbye and walking out and having the closure type experience. And so the next time you come for the closing song and the dismissal rite, and you do the same thing in the opposite direction. And whether you choose forward or back chaining really depends on that child and what is going to be the success for that particular child. There's not necessarily a right or wrong answer. It's tomato, tomato. You need to figure out what's going to work for that child. Resources to help us do that. You can find This Is My Church, and We Go to Mass, and those are some of the resources that we were speaking of earlier that Ann Masters has developed and are on her website. All of the resources as well are going to be at the end of this presentation. There will be a long list of resources, and Nancy, am I right in saying that this presentation will be made available to the participants so they can have that resource list?
What we are going to do is the presentation will be available in online learning sessions. The resource list will be available for download and print off. And that will happen sooner than the online training is ready.
So all of these resources, such as the resource that is available, This Is My Church, and We Go to Mass, will be available on the resource list. You'll see that at the end of the presentation. The other, which we're going to get to in just a minute, but in addition to these two particular ones, there is also in the Loyola Press Eucharist kit, you will see a little book, no bigger than this spiral-bound book, that actually flips right through this same process, that you can either flip front to back, or you could flip back to front, so that you have a manipulative with the child sitting in the pew that helps them to know exactly where they are in the practices. And just as Charleen was saying, that known is so very important, to know where you are in this process. And just before we leave this slide, which is focusing on mass, I just wanted to make a mention of low gluten toasts. If everyone have heard the term low gluten and the availability of low gluten toast. There is no such thing as a gluten-free toast. They all have just a little bit of gluten within them, and they are available for persons that have any sort of a gluten intolerance. If there is someone who absolutely cannot even consume a low gluten toast, there is the option as well as receiving just the precious blood as an option if someone can't tolerate even the low gluten toasts. These are used at all of ours in Washington, on all of our diocesan liturgies, and what we have come to be coined for is the red and white umbrella is the low gluten toast. That's how we have made that happen. Sacramental preparation. This is also, I think, a very big part of what you are looking to be able to have, these resources. But the other thing that I wanted to mention to you, I wanted to call attention to the fact that tomorrow there are also going to be 3 additional workshops that are going to break this open even further. And so if you are interested in learning more about this, tomorrow Madonna is also going to be giving a morning presentation entitled God Called Me to Dance, Even If I'm Out of Step. It's number 106. So if you want to mark that in your program. Additionally, Susan Peralt in number 206 is going to be giving a presentation on faith formation for all. Again, that is number 206. And the last one that I had to mention to you is number 308, given by John Barone, and that is entitled A Place for All, Approaches and Strategies. So just as we are kind of really giving you the 500, 5,000, 50,000 foot level look on this, please know that there are other opportunities tomorrow that will break this open in more detail. So we have additional and resources and workshops happening this weekend, and also please, Loyola is here for the weekend, and these kits that we have here at the bottom, which Carrie was talking about, they are here in great number for you to actually see and look inside and see what that is all about. The University of Dayton also has wonderful resources, and Margaret Shufflebarger is here. Margaret, do you want to raise your hand? So if anyone has, along with the Kennedy curriculum, which was really the pioneer and our first start of being able to provide resources, the Dayton materials are also, part of that pioneering effort, and started many, many years ago, and are still with us and are still supporting us today. And we're most thankful for those resources. There's a picture of what they look like here, but Margaret is here with Dayton, and they also have a table in the other room that you can actually look through them yourselves while you're here. Loyola Press, as you know, how many persons now we've said kit, at least 30 times so far today. How many of you knew that Loyola Press had a kit? Woohoo, we're doing it there. That's a wonderful thing. So they've just come out also with confirmation. So confirmation is now available. All will be out soon in Spanish. They are? They're previewed at our table, but they physically won't be delivered to orders until the end of December, beginning of January. So, but we have little previews at our table. They so rock. So these kits are really one of the first materials and resources that have become available to us that have those manipulatives that we have been yearning for. If you have yet to have an opportunity to actually open up these kits, the boxes, to see what the manipulatives are and to actually play with them yourselves and see what is included, please do so this weekend, because they are absolutely phenomenal and kind of have pioneered a new way addressing the needs that we have. We have, additionally, the materials that you see here, the My First Eucharist in English and Spanish, and also Reconciliation and Confirmation. These resources have been developed by the National Catholic Office for the Deaf. These resources are open captioned, voiced, and signed, so that they are actually presented in American Sign Language and then have the additional voice added on top instead of having it the other way around. But important to recognize too that because they are open captioned and because they are voiced, these are wonderful materials that are applicable to use in many different settings. So those, NCOD is also here, and Monsignor Nelson is here if you have any questions for him or if you are interested in any of those materials.